Welcome to the C Note Show with myself and Cynthia Cruz. And if you haven't met Cynthia, if you haven't seen us do this together before, we've been doing these calls, the C Note Show, for 3 years now. And Cynthia and I have been in this field of psychology, long-term intimate relationship, sexuality for 50,000 hours. And our topic today is her words don't match her actions. And what should I do about this? Well, here on the C Note Show, we love to talk about leading relationship like a king. The men that are here, you that are here, you want to know how to lead relationship with inspiration and depth and polarity, how to bring masculine and feminine polarity into the relationship so sex and intimacy stays strong for the entire life of your relationship. And you want to avoid deep mistakes. That's why we're here. So let's dive into her words don't match her actions and what to do. So some perspective first. Perspective number one. Do you believe masculine feminine polarity is important within long-term monogamous relationship? Have you even heard of masculine and feminine polarity? Do you believe that that's a thing, or do you believe that we're all the same, we're all equal, relationship should be 50-50, and when we have to talk logically, you expect your woman to speak logically, and when you want intimacy, you expect your woman to say what she wants all of the time and to follow through on what she says that she wants, not only in the bedroom, but in life? Or do you believe that we embody different energetic archetypes, that we as a masculine man have different wants and we move in a different way in the world, and she has different wants and moves a different way within her feminine energy? What do you believe? Because you can't live out both at the same time. Number two, would you rather be right? Would you rather be logically correct? Or would you rather be effective? I know if I asked you this within, let's say, your career or your job, maybe your boss's boss, right? Your boss's boss is in town, you're having lunch, and your boss's boss turns to you and asks you a question. Would you rather be logically right, or would you rather be effective in that situation? So this may be a question of integrity, maybe not. To be effective doesn't mean you have to violate your own integrity. But if you're blatantly just attempting to be logically correct, if you're attempting to be right, you're going to have a tough time with a woman who's embodying feminine energy. And we'll talk more about that. And number three, the perspective number three, before we get into this, what about this is bothering you? So right now, I'd love for you in the chat to give us an example of what you have heard in your life. Give us an example of your woman's words not matching her actions. Not something that you saw in a movie or on a TV show or read online, but something you've experienced. So punch into the chat. What's an example of her words don't match her actions? Punch that into the chat for us right now. And as you do that, a question for perspective is, what about that's bothering you? And I have this comment here of why times 5. There's the why times 5. If you ask yourself why at least 5 times, why is the fact that she didn't take out the trash like she said she was going to. We had this question on a Kingly Life Path call the other day. I want to ask you about here in a second. If you asked her to take out the trash this week and she said, yes, she was going to do it, but she didn't take out the trash, why is that bothering you? And you ask yourself this question, why, 5 times to get to the root of this. And ultimately it's something around the concern of, well, I can't trust her. And then that therefore means XYZ. And then that therefore means I don't have security in life or in my relationship. And then that therefore means what? I'm going to be alone. I'm going to die alone. So this fear or this irritation of her not taking out the garbage may be exacerbated with all of these underlying, maybe needy feelings that you have, or codependency or enmeshment that you have. So finding that out for your own self is incredibly important. But let's circle back, Cynthia, to the example last week in the Kingly Life Path membership, our private membership. We had a man say, if I go out of town and I'm not going to be able to take the trash to the curb, and I ask her to take the trash to the curb and she doesn't do it, should I, or am I called upon to say how that irritated me? Do I want to share my emotions around that irritated me? And ultimately that what? I can't trust her. So what happens for a woman when she says she's going to do something, right? Her words, she's going to take the trash out because he's out of town. Normally that's his deal. And her actions don't match the words. And then he comes back and he's now saying, well, I can't trust you, or look, you didn't follow through on what you said you were going to do. What happens within a woman in that moment? Talk with us about this. Unfold this with us.
Yeah, I mean, the frustration of returning and her saying that she was going to follow through with something that she doesn't makes total and complete sense to me. And if I feel into a woman in that moment and she's experiencing frustration, like I can't trust you from her partner, it's really going to go into a portal of he doesn't trust me as a human being versus I can't trust your actions. And the reason why it goes into that portal is because women are, even if they come across as really logical, they are following the wave of their emotional world. In her emotional world, there was reasoning for her lack of action that made sense to her at the time. And that doesn't mean that she doesn't need to change that and show up in a different way. But if her whole reality is kind of spoken to as not reliable, not good enough, not measuring up, it will really cause her to shut down more of her emotional world. And how she responds from that, whether it's anger or accusation of you, or getting super like compartmentalized and logical and shutting off her sexuality, those are a couple examples of how she could respond to that.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question around the shutting herself down. So why can't she just say, "Oh, you're right. I didn't do the trash. I'm sorry. I can understand why you I can understand why you saying you don't trust me. I'm sorry. I'll do better next time." Why doesn't that just happen? Talk with us about this, what a guy thinks. Why doesn't that just happen? Or if she's in that mode, is she shut off in another way? Is she shut off from her femininity?
Yeah, I mean, why she can't respond that way, I feel that in my own being. And I think because there's always an emotional reason behind her actions, to say, you're right, I was wrong, and leave it at that, it really goes into an emotional cave in her. Is that something's wrong with how she was feeling or is feeling. And I think women really lack that compartment to be like, oh yeah, I made a mistake. Oh, I'll fix that, and then go on about their world. That's as hard for them to shed from themselves, their experience, as it would be to like ask someone to shed their skin, because the experience feels so attached to her and who her body, her being.
It's like asking her to shed who she is, to shed her skin. That's interesting. Yeah, it'd be like asking a man to give up his integrity, or to purposefully lie, let's say. So looking at the chat, what are some examples? Chris said, being critical yet sometimes caring. Being critical yet sometimes caring. I'll ask you about that in a second, Chris. Josh said, I want to be separated, but still want you to take care of me.
Yeah.
We talked about that one quite a bit. Jeff said, I love you too. Her words not matching her actions. Okay, fair, touche. Paul said, I hate my body, she says, but she doesn't eat well or exercise. Bothers me because she's miserable and it affects the marriage. Yeah. Jamil said, she says, don't touch me ever again. Then I give her a hug or touch her every now and then, and she doesn't say anything. Patrick, is this Patrick or Parrish? I can completely relate to your comment, Josh. Yeah. Josh said, accountability is not a feminine thing and they can't be wrong. Quajo, words. She says, I can take care of myself. Action, I need you to take care of me. Let's talk about these briefly, each one of these.
Yeah.
So accountability is not a feminine thing and they can't be wrong. A woman can't be wrong. So briefly, what's that about? What's the instinctual drive there? And how is that different from the cultural message that, well, women are totally capable just like men? So where is that in this discussion? Accountability is not a feminine thing.
Yeah, and I feel like I should apologize outright that it isn't, because it would make sense that should be a human being thing. I think energetically, I would say women don't feel a sense of freedom and relief through accountability. I think there's an evolutionary thread that's very present here of safety and survival, and to admit wrongdoing is to to make yourself like open your neck to the tribe, to be disregarded or pushed out. And a lot of women's ancestral survival is about inclusion in the tribe. And so to make someone angry or admit they're wrong would mean, not being protected.
Yeah, not being protected. That's their instinctual drive. So let's step into the I hate my body, but she doesn't eat well or exercise.
Yeah. And that hits my heart. Because I it's so frustrating to watch someone from the outside struggling, but then not taking the actions to heal. And then even what you said about Paul, about how this affects the marriage, and she's not taking responsibility for that. I think a lot of women struggling with body and the lack of exercise or the eating or how that works, again, if we put it into the world of this is so much a result of emotion. There's so much emotional reason for it, whether it's the shutdown and tiredness or the choices or just not feeling well at all, that it's really hard for her in that moment to imagine a different emotional reality where that's a lot easier. And I think a lot of healing comes from her getting to express her current emotional reality, that these other things are a symptom of, but they've kind of become a snowball. It's a symptom, but then they take on a life of their own.
Sure, absolutely. And we've talked with Paul before. We've talked to many of you guys before, so we're happy to dive in more deeply if that's appropriate. So, yeah, Chris, are you able to come in? Critical yet sometimes caring. Looks like maybe not. Your camera's not on. So critical with her words, I'm assuming, and caring with her actions. Is that what you mean? If you could punch into the chat more there. Yes. Okay. Critical with her words, but sometimes caring. All right. Let's talk about the jousting of the feminine to the masculine and how that's different than if a woman's in more masculine concern, fear, tasking, career, where her jousting feels more like a fight to a man, feels like much more critical, cutting. It's not a shit test. It's not teasing. Mm-hmm. It's not wanting to lovingly bring out the best in him. It's more of the challenge and the scolding. So how would you say those differ? The feminine challenge versus more of a scolding, more of a fighting, masculine to masculine energy. What's about that?
Yeah, it depends on what archetype she's embodying. So if she's embodying this, more of this mother archetype and trying to control how other people are acting, like the critical mother archetype of my criticism will get results that I want, that's a very different energy than the feminine who's like very in touch with something that she's yearning for and hungry for inside and maybe feels pain about. And there's emotion behind her voice that is full of water, full of wanting. And she is trying to express real emotion to you through words. That's expressing a real need, a real desire, a real calling that she's wanting met.
Yeah, and she may not be good at communication. That's the thing is she may have different experiences. She may not be great at communication, but it is a calling that she has. So what to do about this?
Yeah.
what to do about this? I'm looking at the men that are on here, and I want to honor you for being on here live. Absolutely. So let me actually call on Josh. Let's talk to Josh for a little bit. Josh, are you able to come on in? I see your camera there. Yeah. So Josh, what's something that she might say, but her actions are different for you?
Something she says. Like she wants me to still take care of her. I feel loved by you when you do things for me.
Okay, sure. So her actions are she wants separation, but her her words say she still wants you to take care of her. Yeah. So what do you want in this spot? And in this perspective here, I mentioned 3 perspectives, Josh. So do you believe in polarity, masculine, feminine polarity? I've talked with you before. I think you'd say yes, right? Yeah. Would you rather be right or effective? I think all of us would rather be effective as long as it doesn't violate our own integrity. Yeah. And what about this is bothering you? So what about that is bothering you? Maybe this is a silly question, but I'd like to hear your answer. What about that's bothering you? That she wants separation, but she wants all the pairing of a relationship.
Well, I understand why she wants the separation. And I mean, just for me and my values and her still being my wife, I will always take care of her until she wants the divorce, because that's just the kind of man I want to be.
Okay. So does something about that then bother you in particular?
It's just like confusing to me.
Hmm.
Like what Cynthia said about I think she said it a while ago, but like she picks the buffet, what she wants. Yeah.
Yeah. And so again, what about that? What about that bothers you? It's confusing.
Confusing, a little annoying. It's like she's dipping her toes in, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. So what do you want in this next phase? You and I have talked about between here and let's say Christmas. So for you, for your own self that you can control, what do you want?
For myself, I want to like get out of this fog of well, lately I haven't been taking care of myself as much as I should, and just getting out there and doing more things for myself instead of always worrying about what my wife thinks of me. And it's not like I'm just sitting by my phone waiting for her to be like, I need something. And that's not like that at all. Like if I drop off the kids and I sense she's having a struggle with something, I'll just start picking up like toys or something, like just kind of like she just got off work. The house is a little messy, maybe I'll unload the dishwasher or something, just little things like that. Like it's not like she's begging me, I need so much help, or it's not like that. It's just a random act of kindness.
Yeah, I don't know if you could hear in the mic, but Cynthia sighed when you said that you're doing this for yourself because that's the man that you are, not trying to appease her, but you want to be a man.
No. I'm not like, hey, mommy, look at what I did. Now can I have a hug or something? It's just, like last night, we did couples counseling. I came back home, I helped put the kids to bed, and then I left. I didn't have to do that. It was her night with the kids. So I could have just stayed in my car and she could have just went in, but I didn't.
Yeah, very nice, Josh. I'm going to show a screen here. Thanks for helping us out and jumping in. So this is the stoic triangle. Josh, you've seen this. Many men have seen this. And what you're focusing on. So what to do is, what can I focus on in the meantime? Am I being a man of virtue? Do you believe in your own self? Do you feel good about this? If I were to ask you, are you a man of virtue? Do you know what your values are? Do you confidently stand up for boundaries in a compassionate way? Are you able to say yes to this as a man? All of us. Are we focusing on what we can control, or are we trying to control something that's out of our realm? Her emotions on the inside, we can't directly control those things. We can influence them. We can't control what she thinks, what she does. And then responsibility for our own selves. Are we taking action in the way that follows through with our virtue? Are we taking actions in a way that we feel good about? So asking her to take out the trash, for instance, asking her for her to take out the trash when we're gone may be fine. But then when we come back, if she doesn't do that, how do we want to be then? Now, do we want to be a lover in this relationship, or do we want to be right? Do we want to be effective, that she feels seen and understood about the emotional reasons that she didn't take the trash out? Or do we want to be right? Yeah. Josh, come on in again, please.
Yeah. When you mentioned the boundaries, I actually set a boundary without even knowing it. And I spoke with Patrick on the phone and he's like, you set a boundary, Josh, good for you. And I didn't know I did. So the boundary is she still wants to have Sunday dinners as a family. And I agreed, yeah, that's good to show the kids that mom and dad are still being nice to each other. And I told her, I said, if you're just going to be pouty and have a mean look on your face the whole time, I don't want to be around you.
Yeah, it sounds like a new thing for you to say something like this.
And then that was last Sunday, and she was like, you know what, I don't want to do it. And I was like, okay, that's fine with me. But then on counseling, she said, I want to do them still. I'm like, oh, okay. So we'll see if she's pouty.
Yeah, well, yeah. So why does that feel good to you to stand up in that way, Josh?
Because my whole relationship, I never had any boundaries for her or for myself. Well, in the past too, another thing I didn't like that she did, and I kind of put a boundary, is sometimes she'd call me bro, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Like she'll be like on Facebook and she's like, "Oh, check this out, bro," or "dude." I'm like, "I'm your husband. You can call me babe or something, like not bro. We're not one of like homies, you know?"
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, this is the precedent of what do you believe? What do you believe about the dance and relationship? Do you believe that we're all just the same, or do you believe that you are more deeply in masculine and she's more expressive and feminine, and that keeps love alive, right? That's what we're learning here. I didn't have any idea. I hadn't even heard masculine, feminine polarity 15 years ago. Right? So I had no idea. I was moving on autopilot like most of us were. Get a job, have kids, try to be financially successful, and then what? Okay, buy a house, and then what? Go on vacations, and then what? That's how the autopilot is. Yeah. But learning this keeps intimacy alive, ongoing in the relationship. It doesn't mean it's automatic, but it can be pretty easy, like Josh, like you were saying. Yeah. Ron put into the chat, my wife filed for divorce, but still washes my clothes, cooks dinner, talks to me, texts me, cleans the house, schedules dentist appointments, even though she'll be off my insurance soon, and sleeps in bed with me. So obviously not knowing anything, you don't know anything about Ron's situation. What would you say that is about? That she's filed for divorce, but she keeps doing all these things, all these tasks and responsibilities.
Yeah. I think the word confusion keeps coming out of my mouth today, because I can only imagine how confusing that is, how much fog there is around that. And I'll be the first one to say the feminine women do not compartmentalize well. And it sounds like in that situation, a certain feeling, a feel emotional state she gets from doing all those things, like washing the clothes, cooking, it makes her feel safe. It's in a way that's neutral for her. It's not polarized. There's no sexual underpinnings to that. And so it actually gives her an anchor to do things like that. And she can do that in a way that's very separate than I'm in a romantic relationship and I meet my lover with loving, soft, turned on feminine energy.
Yeah, Ron, come on in. Tell us more about that.
So how do I give her that energy that you just spoke about? I think she filed just to prove a point. Yeah, I'm confused too. I mean, I want to, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Let me ask you a question. Part of what you and I have spoken about, Ron, is that in the past, and I can relate to this deeply, I've talked about this on the show before, that you have an anger response or an anger reaction, right? Like frustration and anger, and why isn't this working? What's going on? More of an anger response with her. Yeah. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that went away, and I'm starting to see her more as a feminine woman, and how my responses to her when she tried to talk to me in the past, I believe, put her to where she's at today. I reacted instead of responding properly, and I'm a lot more chill now. Okay, whatever. If that's what you want, I ask her opinion about things more. I involve her more. I think in the past I took it personally and let my ego get in the way, and saw everything she had to say about me as a personal attack instead of her trying to help me be a better man. And I told her that last night. I actually apologized to her for that. She said, thank you. I feel a lot more calmer around her now. I'm not as uptight or scared around her, but that's where we're at. And I don't know how to give her that energy. I feel like she wants it from me, but I got to go slow with it, just a little bit at a time, because I'll overwhelm her very fast, is how I feel.
Yeah, that's fair to say. So in our coaching, Ron, and you may or may not have heard this, there's 3 phases. There's the initial phase, stop messing up, flushing out blind spots so you don't accidentally twist your ankle in the forest. As you're running through the woods, you don't step into a hole and twist your ankle. So stop messing up, be aware of your blind spots. Then the second phase is grow your own skills, your depth, your connection with other guys, grow your understanding of these concepts. And the third phase is invite, how to invite her towards you or into something new, or to experience a new energy with you. So I love that you're asking really about the third phase there. And we can't do all these things at the same time. So let me ask you, let's just say that she filed for divorce to prove a point, let's say, so that she can feel what? Where, and in Rod's question here, where would you take us? What do you think she's wanting if this was to prove a point? to feel.
Yeah. Ron, I really appreciate hearing your story and even just feeling your energy through the screen and your solidity in what you're moving through and moving with her. What you said about her saying, or you kind of made amends with her about, I know you're pushing me to be a better man. There's a really big need in women and the feminine to have their femininity make an impact. And we could talk about all parts of that, because there's a very unhealthy way for that and there's a great way for that. And so if she's felt in the past like anything she said or any true emotion that came up kind of was met with like this feeling of a plexiglass window that she couldn't quite get through, then she's going to withdraw. And so her need right now of knowing that, oh, like my true expression, my true emotion does matter, does have impact, and can be held by a man in his masculine container, feels like a really big drive in her.
So part of this could be that she matters. Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
She just nailed it. Every time she said something or did something, she was met with defensiveness and a brick wall. 100% on me. So that's why I think this is her way of saying, see me, feel me. Here's the papers. If I can't influence you, then I'm out of here.
Yeah. So what do you believe is next for you? You want to know how to affect her in a positive way. But what's next for you as a man in this work? What's your hunch?
I have no idea. Well, I went through the phases of stop screwing up. Then I grew, and now I'm in step 3 of, okay, now it's time to invite her. But getting her to realize that I see you, I feel you, your feelings matter, your emotions matter, let's do this together. That's the part where I think it takes time. I can't do it overnight. I almost need like an episode or something to happen so that she can feel me, go through it with her.
Well, something in life will happen one way or the other, that's for sure. And it certainly does take time, right? This is relatively new, her wanting separation. She just filed for divorce, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So time, absolutely. What's your fear here? Let's say this takes 6 months, 12 months, 18 months for her to feel and see a different version of you in a consistent way, and for her to unfold and be able to trust, as Aaron said in the chat, to trust slowly. What if it takes a year? What's your concern? What's your fear about that?
Well, the divorce timeline and filing a countersuit and all that good stuff doesn't quite give me the time frame needed to fix things. So that's my fear, that this divorce being in process will speed everything up instead of, hey, let's just slow things down a little bit.
Sure. That's the biggest fear. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I need time. I want time with her.
So of those things, what can you control?
None of it. I got 30 days to answer her claim in the courts. And then we have scheduled court hearings after that, throughout the next year.
Sure. But what can you control? So you can't control the date of the hearing. You can't control that in 30 days, you have to have certain paperwork done and such. But what can you control of this? So this screen here is the stoic triangle. Virtue means your values, your boundaries, going after what you want. Right. Number 2 is what can you control? You can't control those things, but what can you, and what actions can you take responsibility for in what we're talking about here? So how could you show up? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I can control how I respond to everything. I can show up as more of a stoic type of man, and okay, if this is what you truly want, then let's talk about it. Let's move forward together. I can lead the whole interaction, and I can control myself. But I don't
That's
know.
Right. That's absolutely right. And so, is part of your fear that won't be enough?
I guess part of my fear is when I want something, I go after it 120%, and I may push her away for being overwhelming, overbearing to her.
That's great. Let me press pause and ask Cynthia about that. That's really great. So ambitious men want to just fucking kill it, right? I'll work more. I'll lift more weight. I'll just go out there and throw another spear, this kind of thing. I'll research. I'll read the next book. Why might that not be the best idea in Ron's spot? Like pressure, more learning, more pressure. Let me do more advanced techniques on her.
Yeah. Well, I think, Ron, you were speaking the word of wisdom, like time. And I think that kind of masculine, like do it. We can like be more skills, be more right now. The feminine can feel that as wanting her actually to be in a more masculine place with you, kind of like she can, even if it's not said out loud, she can feel the pressure of like, just, fix the emotions, fix whatever the internal experience has been, fix the feeling of distrust, as opposed to being invited out, evolving, kind of like a flower in the rain, and the sun doesn't really just suddenly open. It has to do it in a slow way. And I think that word time is brilliant, Ron, even when things are in a much better place, because the nature of the feminine is it will never reach this place of just fixed perfection, perfect trust, perfect alignment. She will always be evolving and opening within your container. And that's something that can help her feel truly seen and truly heard and understood when you and that incredible masculinity see that and allow that and believe in that.
And that perspective, knowing that she has this hurt part inside, let me put this another way. If we break our leg, we're going to need a certain amount of time for that to heal and to not injure it, not to re-injure it again, to have healthy nutrition, etc. But if I try to rush my leg healing and take the cast off early, I'm going to hurt myself or re-break it, or much more likely to have an injury and not heal right. So it's similar to this. I can't just throw more at my broken leg to make it heal faster necessarily. And that impatience can harm it. So this is where we are at this point, Ron. And the valuable thing about coaching and being a part of these groups is that you can control your own self and you reset yourself through this work with other men. The danger is ripping off the cast and breaking your leg again. That's the biggest danger at this spot. How's that come across to you, Ron?
Good. Now I got to go get a lawyer. I got 30 days to counter her. So that's the fear of mine. Like 30 days isn't enough time. I got to have a conversation with her. I feel like asking her, do you truly want this? Because I got to counter, hire a lawyer myself. Is there any way you want to just slow this down a little bit? That's what I feel like sitting her down and talking to her about.
Well, that is a business discussion with her. So you're welcome to ask that. But then what? Why would she want to do something differently if she's felt like she hasn't been effective in the past? That would be the question I'd be asking myself. And if you're coming to this business discussion with your hat in your hand, like, you can certainly ask, but really you want to prepare yourself for this possibility. And if you do need to counter, then you counter. If you do need to hire an attorney, that's where you are. This is the result of what's come in your relationship. She doesn't want you to run away from that. She doesn't want you to necessarily fear her. If what you're saying is true, that she wants to wake you up, then it's a waking up to handling this as a kingly man, handling this with calm compassion, as you and I have talked about. That's this challenge. You may not be avoiding 30 days from now, and maybe how do you grow through this and prove to yourself and to her that you can handle this in a calm way? What if that was what this next 30 days was about?
And I do believe that's exactly what it's about. However, if I can head it off and buy myself some time and not have to, put $5,000 more down on a lawyer, and, if she says, yeah, let's just take a step back and put things on pause, that'd be great too.
Sure. Well, go for it. Ask her the question. Ask her the business question. That's what I would say. It's how are you going to feel? What are you going to do if she says, no, I am serious. No, I'm not going to change. Yes, you need to hire an attorney.
Okay, I understand. I can respect your decision. Thank you for opening up to me and telling me the truth.
Yeah, very nice. And how is that version of you different than maybe Ron of 2 years ago, let's say?
It's a complete 180, because she even said, when someone goes against you or doesn't agree with you, it gets nasty. You're like a bulldozer. You won't stop till you get what you want in life. And that's been very well for me in business.
Right.
Not so well in my marriage.
Right. Exactly. Thanks, Ron. Really good stuff.
The qualities that she fell in love with me for are now haunting me.
Well, that's a big statement, right? She loves those qualities in you, but she doesn't want to be punished by them.
Exactly. And she has been.
Yeah. Thanks, Ron. Good stuff. Good to see you. Absolutely. So Jamil, you mentioned your wife said today she wants to move forward with a divorce. She filed 2 years ago and we need to move on, yet we are still heavily intertwined because of our child and life logistics, and we hang out as a family and do stuff together. So Jamil, what do you want now? Knowing this, what do you want now?
Good question. My instinct is to convince otherwise, but I know it doesn't really work. I guess I want to say, okay, if you really want this, then there's more than just the actual divorce. There's the practical aspect of it. I mean, personally, I don't want it, but at the same time, I want to acknowledge her desire to do this and respect it. So,
okay. Yeah. To acknowledge her, respect her. Is there a boundary that you'd like to change? Like Josh was saying earlier, is there something, do you not want to hang out as a family as much? Do you not want to do many things together?
Well, I feel like she feels conflicted because we do a lot together. And then she's kind of like, well, I don't want to be together yet. We're just doing all this stuff together. So maybe it's a bit too much for her. So I don't know. I guess for my daughter's sake, I feel it's good for her. But I don't know. Yeah, for me, I feel a bit conflicted really between wanting to do it and not wanting to do it. So
yeah. Well, that's certainly something for you to consider and think about for your own self. And even as you move into more family stuff here in the near future, in the next week or two, notice how it's maybe different. Notice what you are wanting. Notice maybe what's too much. If often when you're around a woman you want to be with, but doesn't want to be with you, you have an emotional hangover afterwards. Usually lasts 3 to 7 days where you feel really ungrounded and emotional and not yourself. And after about 3 days goes past, often a man will start to feel better, not as pulled, not as sad, not as hollow. Mm-hmm. And that's an emotional hangover that you have, again, when you're around her, if she doesn't want the relationship, but you do. And in that space, there's healing. You need to take space for your own self and not put yourself in that place where you feel pulled out of your own grounding for such a long time. So it'd be spending less time, like amounts of time around your separated spouse, less time around her, so you still feel grounded when you leave. That's an indication. And if you can't do that, be grounded and solid, then you're not a great example for your daughter. It's your daughter, right? You're not a great example for your daughter in that place anyway. If you're all being swayed, emotional, and not like yourself, then you're not serving your daughter either, being there in that way.
Sure. I mean, in the past, I thought, by spending time together, it increases connection, but obviously it hasn't led to her thinking differently about the relationship.
Yeah, this is what Ron is basically asking as well, and many men have asked. It's not about the volume of time necessarily, right? And we have this yearning thinking that if it was just more time around her, that would heal things, but that's not necessarily true. Yeah, so think about that and come back to us another call, Jamil. Okay.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'll read a couple of paragraphs from Way of the Superior Man, and we'll get final thoughts from Cynthia, and we'll close out for today. He says, women are not liars, although they often seem that way to men. This is why a man must ultimately be responsible for making his own decisions, based on the deepest truth he can fathom. Otherwise, if he bends his course of truth to compromise for his woman's current and changing expressions, he will probably end up blaming her. You should hear what your woman has to say and feel her carefully. Feel her depth carefully. Then, after you've fully considered her input, make your best possible decision from your own deep core. This way, if your woman subsequently changes her mind, you won't resent her for compromising your path. Whenever you are surprised by your woman's actions and you say to her, "But you said," you're forgetting that she has a feminine essence. Mm-hmm. And along with this, all along the way, as we teach in one-on-one coaching in our groups, is how to cultivate a shared vision that you're moving toward together. The staircase of intimacy. It's emotional intimacy, vision, and physical intimacy. And if you're not cultivating a vision to move toward, then why should she trust you, or why would she trust your decision here? When she comes to you with her oracle, with her emotions, when she shares with you her depth, and you fully considered her input, then you make the best possible decision from your own deep core as a man with that vision, that path in mind for the two of you, or for your own self if you're separated and she doesn't want to join you. So you have to have that vision. It's important. Now, we all know that she's going to she's most likely going to make it your responsibility anyway in the future. So you might as well step up and realize that you are going to be held accountable for this. So give us some final thoughts there. It may be sweet and in polarity, and the man may make a decision when she says that's what she wants. An example from the book is, let's move to another city. Let's move to Chicago. And she agrees and they move. And now she says she never wanted to move to Chicago. What is that? What is that part of this about? And what do you want to leave the men with here today, please?
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes find it's hard to top the words that David Data uses when he talks about subtler energies. I think, I want for you, and I heard you express, you want the women in your life to act from their feminine essence and all that brings in terms of affection and connection and sensuality. And a woman can't connect to her true feminine essence unless there is masculine presence there that sees her feminine essence. And feminine essence is not, most of the time, not the words that she says, but the emotionality of her and the nature that emotionality shifts. And that sometimes she uses words that don't match because she actually doesn't even know how to match them. And I get a lot of hope and a lot of joy meeting men like you who are seeking to see a feminine essence really is, because then that gives me hope and joy for the women who are really struggling to be authentic in that and to be loving in that. And I hear your call to them to bring that out. And that makes the women in your life, whether it's an ex, whether you're getting divorced or together, that makes the woman in your life very, very lucky.
Thank you. So well said. If you guys have follow-up questions, post in the forum, the Great Men Move Mountains forum. Reach out to us directly. We're happy to be here for you. Appreciate you guys.